That shouldn't just be a rule for raiding when you're drinking. That should just be a rule in life. Don't be stupid. Don't be a dick. If I had to add any other rules to that, okay? Don't ever wear Crocs. Ever. And don't ever look another man in the eye while you eat a banana. We were having an interesting discussion the other day in my WoW guild, specifically in the officers chat, about loot systems. And I want to go over this with you guys today, just as a discussion, because honestly, there's a ton of different systems out there, different flavors, you know, different strokes for different folks. And I'm really curious to see what else is out there that I don't know of. How are there flavors of systems? What's easily manageable? And I'm curious, what do you guys want to see available to us in terms of tools within the Ashes UI? So there's a few points there I wanted to talk about tonight. Just to get a feel for where everything is. Now, a side note from that, and perhaps something that we should talk about first, when it comes to dungeons or raiding or anything like that, where you organize a large amount of people together to go and take down a boss or a group of bosses or enemies in a stronghold or in a dungeon or whatever. What are your thoughts on how that experience and the time and effort put into that should be rewarded to the group? There's always going to be people that are very, very loot oriented. They're just there for the gear. Like, I don't give a shit about the lore or seeing new content. I just want to go in there because it's the next step on my progression path, and I want the gear. And I want it first, so I don't have to come back, so I can go and do the next step, the next level. And then there's the total other end of the spectrum for people that, like, you know what? I don't give a shit about the gear. If and when I get an upgrade, cool. But I'm here to hang out with everyone. I'm here to chat and have fun in Discord. I'm here to see the content, experience the lore, and genuinely just hang out and have fun with my friends. If you're getting 40 people together for like 3 hours to go and do something, do you feel that everyone should be rewarded in the game, like to your character? Obviously, the experience and the time enjoyed should be rewarding, but it also did, like, are you super casual? Are you progressive, or are you a tryhard guild or focus? Right? Describe the ideal player with the second one. I mean, ideally, absolutely, I agree 100%. You're there, you're committed to the betterment of the group and overall pushing forward to experience more content, but you have fun along the way. And that's really the mentality I am trying to foster within myself, especially while I'm playing WoW Classic and doing raiding right now. I mean, it helps that I have half decent gear on my character, but I put in the effort to get prepared to earn that gear. But really, like, there's things that I reserve or that I roll on that, quite frankly, if I won it, I would probably trade it to our main tank. Because I know getting that piece to him is going to help him with his itemization and help us progress into the next level of content quicker and more successfully. Rather than me getting an upgrade. It would be a good upgrade for me as well and a best in slot item for a long time, but in the end, the immediate benefit is by far about bringing up the whole guild. And obviously, you know, you need your main tank and your main healers to be probably on the upper end of the gear progression line for where you're at content-wise. But at the same time, you want to be raising the floor as well, I feel. You know, a rising tide raises all ships, right? So the more you bring up the floor, the more you're bringing the overall average of the raid up. Something else to consider with loot is when it's a higher end piece and can be broken down, it will affect the crafting scene. Absolutely. As well as a lot of the loot items planned for Ashes aren't gear, but actually crafting materials. I think that all participants should be rewarded, but the loot rules can easily decide in advance. The loot rules, I feel like the guild needs a defined loot system. Whatever, if you're going to be running with a guild or with pugs even, you need a defined loot system just to avoid drama and confusion. If you don't like the loot system that you see someone advertising for their guild or for the pug, if you're not going to jive with that, then don't join it. If you're not going to go with the group and what they are putting together and the people that are there are okay with, don't put yourself in that situation where you're going to be the drama queen or creating drama or just making yourself upset because it's not going your way or you don't think things are being done the way you would do them. If you're that hard set on having things done a certain way, start your own guild or group. That being said, I agree. I do like the idea. So apparently City of Heroes had something like that where I never played the game myself, but I've read a bit about it today doing some research about this. They had a reward system within the game where everyone was rewarded for their time for completing a dungeon or content, right? I do like that. Like they're something to give back to you. Even if like, hey, you cleared the content, we'll cover all your repair costs. Whether that's materials or gold or whatever, we'll cover that for you or give you something like that back. We'll give you a token for completing the instance, like something along the lines. It doesn't have to be some huge progression gear drop. You know, those should still be somewhat limited. You don't want to go into a raid, run it once or twice, and then all of a sudden you've gotten everything there that you need for your entire guild, and now you can move on somewhere else. You want the content to be experienced a little bit more than that. And WoW, you know, like you guys have seen me running like Molten Core and stuff. There's a decent amount of bosses in there. There's a large time commitment, and a lot of times you'll walk out of there with where maybe like 4 or 5 people get the gear. Some of them more than 1 or even more than 2 pieces, and some of them, most of the people might walk out with nothing but a repair bill and a large investment in consumables. So the kind of polar ends of the spectrum in a sense. Talking to my nephew today made me realize how old I am now. Gonna have to grind hard to keep up with the Zoomer. Oh, dude. I'm glad I got enough kids that I'm just used to operating on like 5 hours of sleep a day, because it's gonna be necessary. Make the loot tradable regardless of eye level or gear score. That way people in groups can trade loot to people who you want it to go to, but then if you're in a pug, you can keep your gear. I very much like the idea of loot being tradable to the people that were within the instance. With like, you know, the WoW Classic that we're playing anyway. I don't know about retail. It has when loot drops, you have a 2-hour window to trade it to somebody if you loot it, unless you equip it or it's already been traded. Once you trade it once, that's it. It cannot be traded again if it's a soul-bound item. Or if you equip it, then it becomes soulbound and that's it. So I do very much like that idea, because if you happen to give a piece of loot to someone by accident, or someone loots something by accident and they're like, sorry, I didn't mean to do that, it was an honest mistake, can you give that to this person, or here, I'll give you this because I don't need it, or it's better for you, or whatever it is. I like that idea. If someone keeps there will always be issues with loot, so give the option to the players. Absolutely. I'm hoping just to see some in-game tools to make distribution and management of such potential systems easier. That's not to say that players in other guilds won't have systems outside of that, less commonly used stuff. But if the game had, say, a soft reserve system built into it, if it had a master looter system built into it, if it had like an EPGP type system built into it, and things like that guilds could utilize to make just the management and offline tracking of all that kind of stuff a whole lot easier would be really nice. Soft reserves I don't think we'll see, because we probably won't know most loot tables for quite a while. If someone keeps loot that is being asked by that person's guild to give to someone else and they don't, then they might be removed from the guild. That is up to the player. Yep. I mean that's a big no-no, right? If you're gonna be a loot ninja, especially within your guild, that's gonna be a big no-no. At the same time, you can't really take away that ability because that's that player's decision. If they're like, hey, I'm gonna alienate myself from this guild by being a ninja looter, I know I'm gonna get kicked and have a bad reputation, but I'm okay with that. Fine, let them do that. That's part of what the game's about with the player agency, right? Even gold currency split would be nice. Yeah, absolutely. Something along those lines to give everybody a little bit of something just for being there. A stack of potions or consumables for next time or whatever. I think the loot in WoW versus loot in Ashes will be vastly different. I agree, mostly due to what loot is available. I want loot to be impactful, but I'd rather the skill of the player be the biggest impact. I think they've said gear is going to equate for about 50% of a player's power for Ashes. It's in the group. Yeah, for trading in the group. Yeah. Sorry, I'm behind on chat compared to where I'm talking. That didn't take long. I believe that there's very little in AOC that will be player bound. That's the impression I get, is that, and that really falls down to the corruption system as well, I think. Having soul-bound items kind of circumvents the penalty of the corruption system. So that would make sense that we wouldn't see too much soul-bound items, which is a good thing. At the same time, I hope there's strict requirements into either equipping pieces of gear or into unlocking effects and abilities on pieces of gear. This could be a whole separate discussion, but I'm going to present it at least as a question to you guys anyway. I don't know if any of you guys follow Diablo 4 news and what's going on there, but one of the proposed itemization system that they have for the game that they've put out to the community right now is you can equip a piece of gear and it'll have certain abilities or effects on it, but you have to hit a minimum stat requirement that isn't typically your primary stat in order to unlock that ability. So you could be a mage and you might not have to get 200 strength, but you'd have to get, like, say 200 dex. And that dex provides a certain benefit to your class, whether it's dodge or cast speed or whatever it is. But in order to unlock a certain ability on a piece of armor, you would need that 200 dex, so to speak. So even if you were to take an item and trade it to a lower level character to essentially twink them out or overgear them and help them power level themselves in a roundabout way, they might not get the full benefit of that gear with something like that. I'm curious, what do you guys think of a system like that for gearing and itemization? I personally, I really like the idea of it, especially with the fact that on crafting gear, crafters are going to have the ability to kind of focus stats in one direction or another. You'd like a loot add-on built in? It not necessarily. Well, I mean, in a roundabout way, it's what is typically fulfilled by an add-on in nowadays would just be part of the UI. Imagine how much people will pay for those temporary flying mount eggs. Oh, it's gonna be nuts. They should be BOP. Potentially. Maybe you have to walk into some magical fire like, what the heck was her name? Daenerys, in order to hatch them. Or open-ended, but I kind of like the idea of a super rare tradable drop like that. It would be like that. It depends, I think, how rare it is, for sure. But the second you make it tradable, you're now basically, if you get it and you're not the richest player on the realm, you just might as well become one at that point. If that person or people who do have a ton of money are willing to buy it. But you could also introduce it to markets outside of your node or area by carrying it in a caravan somewhere else And wow, tell me if that wouldn't be one of the sweatiest caravan routes of all time. I would be sweating bullets transferring something of that value across the world, especially if I thought anybody else knew about it and might potentially be like, hey, who wants to go on egg hunting tonight? What's a thunderstruck log? Sorry, I never played Arcage. I don't think I ever managed to get a thunderstruck log, so yeah, I feel that one. I'm assuming it's a super rare item. Wait, wasn't it Arcage that did that? Had the shop add-on or whatever, where you could, that kind of ruined the economy because certain farmable resources had a chance to get struck by lightning. I think I remember Steven talking about this one. Hey Naba, how's it going, man? Good to see you, good to see you. Twidget, hello. That was it? Okay. Yeah, other than buying them, yeah. Finding one on your own is pretty rare. That's like me trying to find Black Lotus in WoW Classic right now amidst all the botters and farmers and whatnot that are out there hunting them down with groups of people. I found 2 in my entire time. That's it. There's a key component to making a farm cart and ships. There was an RNG chance any tree would be hit by lightning and create a thunderstorm. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I remember Steven talking about that. He's like, I won't name the game, and I'm pretty sure Nava's still here actually informed me that it was Arcage. The game they introduced Thunderstruck saplings that had a much higher chance of growing into a Thunderstruck log. You could only buy them. Yeah, that's stupid. You can't. That immediately becomes pay to win, right? Immediately becomes pay to win when you do that. It really, really destabilizes the economy when you can essentially just introduce some of the rarest items into the game at will, without restriction. How do you combat that with in-game playtime, right? So back to the loot system then. I very much agree, and I like the idea of everyone in the raid being rewarded with something. It doesn't have to be a game-changing item or anything like that. Yo! Lady Tilt with the 400 biddies. Much love, my queen. Thank you. Thank you for giving Twitch half of our money. I appreciate you, baby. Thank you so much. But yeah, like so this was kind of just I was just throwing some notes down while I was at work and on lunch and whatnot. Nothing too crazy here. Nothing too crazy. Yo, Twidget with the Twitch Prime. My guy, thank you for the Twitch Prime, man. You could have dropped that Twitch Prime sub anywhere. You chose to drop it here. I appreciate you so much right now. Thank you. Refresh your browser. Wrap up those emotes. Welcome to the Tilted Paradise, friend. Yeah, I was just jotting some notes down at work on lunch and before stream. Thank you for the posture check. I'm getting into it, man. I'm into this. I want my loots. All right, yeah, spam the channel points. There you go. Get your character redemption. Yeah, this was kind of the point. I do very much like the idea of everyone in the raid getting something. Moving from there, we kind of touched on this, the importance of everyone kind of being on the same expectation, i.e. having a set looting system. Or I shouldn't call it a loot system. It should actually be called probably a loot distribution system. So right now in our WoW guild, we use a soft reserve, main spec, off spec loot system. We do hard reserve certain very rare, very valuable items, as well as crafting materials. Hard reserving things like crafting materials and ashes. If you're running with a full guild, I feel like a hard reserve is not necessary. This is a pug specific loot system, in my opinion. It is where this belongs. Okay, I don't think it belongs within a full guild run of anything. My reason for that is everybody should be on the same page, as we were talking about. being aligned with pushing the group forward and really being of the mindset of just being there to have a good time, push through the content, experience it, and help move everybody as a whole forward. Again, raising tide lifts all boats. Hey, Wizzy, how you doing? Good to see you, good to see you. So, hard reserve, I think, is specific to that, which is a good thing. It's a good thing that it's not necessary to be used within a guild. Soft reserve, on the other hand, I feel like this can be used in a guild. Now, I was doing some reading, and I learned about a token-based system that was very much like a soft reserve system, where you would give everybody in the raid a token every week, or 2 tokens, 1 main spec token, 1 off spec token, or 1 need token, 1 greed token, whatever you want to call it. Need before greed, main spec, off spec, same shit, different pile. Soft reserve can be nice within a guild. If you give 1 soft reserve to each person per raid lockout, then they're able to basically cut down the size of the pool or even be exclusive when it comes to a certain item. So it cuts out a lot of the people that are either prioritizing something else or that are going after it, would only go after this as kind of a backup item. Hey, maybe this will play well with my off spec, or I could use that as a slight upgrade, but I don't really need it right now. I might have to move some other things around, the Hummers and Hars, right? So it narrows down the pool of people wanting it. Fuck, I had another thought on this. I had a thought while I was saying that one, and now it was a good one, and now it's off the top of my, it's gone. Shiza, okay, give me a sec. It'll come back, I hope. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, you know? My memory in my old boomer age here. It's gone! Okay, moving on. Fucking boomers, right? What the hell? So, a downside to soft reserve. Is there a downside to soft reserve? Downside to soft reserve in Ashes? It's not going to be usable. At least in the early stages of the game, it's not going to be usable. Reason why? You need access to loot tables. Plain and simple. You don't have a loot table, how do you know what's a soft reserve? Honestly, same thing can be said for hard reserve. How do you know what you're gonna go after, what even exists, until you see it drop? And in a roundabout way, and I'm sure most guilds are gonna be doing this, most people or groups are gonna be doing this to an extent, are going to be keeping track of what drops from where. Might even be watching other videos and other websites to see what's happening on other servers to note down those bosses and compile that information. I'm fairly sure we'll be able to find this at some point over on asheshq.com. If you guys aren't following, go over there. I hope that have a tome? What system is that? Tome system wouldn't be bad, but it also depends if there's actual instances. There's very, very few instances. You get a currency for finishing instance raids. Okay. I think WoW introduced that in the Burning Crusade as well, with badges of heroism. When you killed a boss, you got a couple badges of heroism, and there was a vendor that you could go, and they had a bunch of pretty good items in. Some of them really, really good. And you could spend X amount of badges on these items. And typically it would probably take several raids and many heroics, if you just, instances or dungeons, if you went that route, in order to save up enough tokens to get some of these items. So even something like that, like what we were talking about with having like gold or something else distributed to the raid as a reward, having a currency system that maybe it's even node specific or specific to a castle region, and you have to travel to the castle of your region that you're playing in with the tokens that you acquired in that region, and that's where the quartermaster is, assuming the castle is player controlled. That could be really cool. They could go as far as having the guild that owns the castle be responsible for putting items in there, and they get a percentage of whatever tokens are spent or whatever that currency is back as, I don't know, something like additional defensive armaments or points or something like that to defend the castle during the next siege. So I'm just kind of spitballing, throwing whatever random thought comes into my mind out there, but that's... I like the idea of that maybe being a currency, because then it gives players the ability to save up over time to possibly go and get something. How that something is provided, there's several ways they could do it. I think it would probably be more, it could even just be crafting materials that you get, or recipes or blueprints or schematics or whatever the heck it's going to be for your profession, that you could go and get with some of these with these tokens. So that could be really cool. I like that idea. I very much like that idea. Hard reserve. Yeah, it's really only pug specific. Otherwise, everybody in the guild should be focused on giving gear to the people that are gonna improve the raid overall the most, have the biggest impact or benefit, / rewarding players that put in the effort, right? Somebody might have the best or some of the worst gear in the raid, and they would benefit most for something. But at the same time, if they're also putting in the least effort to build themselves up outside of the raid, then maybe they don't get the loot. Because I tell you, as someone that puts in a ton of effort to gear themselves out, to watch all the raid loot go to somebody who has put in no effort, feels pretty shitty. I'll be honest. I mean, we spend half of our WoW raids right now gearing up pugs. That's no fun. It doesn't help the guild at all. Logged into Summoner's War today. Hype got it. Oh shit! You laughed and locked out. Fucking savage. Man. That's savage. I was watching G-Bagel's video earlier about the dev update / discussion that's come out around all the controversy from the top Korean guilds right now and how Comtuous is handling things. And it's just like, yeah... No, I'm not downloading that again. We'll come back to this. Hopefully, whatever thought I had will come back to me. I wish I could just go back and watch the stream again and see what my thought was, but unfortunately, you don't get thought bubbles on stream. How cool would that be? Where's that technology? So let's talk about main spec / off spec, or need versus greed. That'd be dangerous, dude. That would be the most confusing. You watch some of these young YouTubers now, right? Like some of our kids, they're really big into like Roblox and Minecraft. Of course, that's right in their age gap. But they watch a bunch of YouTubers with this stuff, and these people are so random and all over the place. It's like a live episode of Family Guy or something. If you could see my thoughts, that'd be it. No more biting my tongue. I might as well get slapped at. That's right. Just hit me now, just in case. Yo, Player Viro, how you doing? Good to see you. Do you dare to set a release date? No, I don't think I dare set a release date. We're so far from a release date that, like, I'm talking probably like 2 years. I think is a ballpark, and that's a big ballpark right now. So yeah, it's the Alpha 1 NDA test or non-NDA test gets going, and I believe it's next weekend. It's the 19th it goes, right? If memory serves me correctly. Yeah, March 19th. So this is the closest, this is the only information we have around dates. If this goes very well, and this goes even better, then we might see more Alpha 1 testing happen. We might even get an Alpha 2 timeline by summer. If I had to put a hope out there, I am hoping we will see an Alpha 2 timeline by summer. How long do you think Alpha 1 will last? Until they get the bugs worked out for Alpha 1 and are able to have probably I doubt the whole world will be Alpha 2, but I know the world will likely need to be bigger to accommodate the massive amount of player increase, because Alpha 2 is available to anyone and everyone who wishes to purchase access at this point, as well as the crafting system needs to come online, at least in its early iteration, because I believe the crafting system is slated for Alpha 2 testing as of right now. So I imagine Alpha 1 is going to last probably at least until summer or fall of this year. If I had to put numbers out there. But again, don't quote me. I know nothing. I don't even have Alpha 1 access. So let's talk about main spec and off spec for a second here. Need versus greed. I feel like just making your loot system as simple as that, it can feel very fair on paper. But RNG. And I know Nabastil, my old Summoner's War buddy here, knows everything there is to know about shitty RNG. How many Okeanos did you pull? But the flip coin to that, if someone is losing an RNG, someone else is winning. So I say it as a con. Oh, I thought it was 9. Okay. I put it as a con because for whatever reason in our world, negative energy always seems to be stronger than positive energy. So the player that gets nothing week after week after week because they're losing all the rolls is probably going to have a larger effect on them and how they're going to do it than had they won a roll or had they won all the rolls. I don't know where I'm going with that thought. I still think it's a negative because it can reward people that put in the least amount of effort instead of the people that put in more effort, which I think there needs to be a balance there. I think you also need to make sure you have restrictions on how many rolls somebody can win at a time, like in a raid lockout or like in a week or a month or whatever it is. Yeah, that is you. That absolutely is you. And I'll be honest, you would probably be far more inclined to do more raids if you at least won one thing once in a while. It feels bad to look over at her screen when she types /roll for a piece of gear and it's already lower than anyone else. So, but it is an equal opportunity. Might not go in the best direction for the guild, right? Like if you're in a main spec, off spec, or need versus greed loot system, I feel like even if a piece of gear is only a slight upgrade for you, that you should probably roll on it. And unless it's going to be very temporary upgrade, like, hey, there's a boss, 2 bosses later on, he drops an item I've seen that I know is an even bigger upgrade for that same slot, then maybe you focus on that. If that piece isn't as good for somebody else, and the piece that you're rolling on, or could roll on, right now, is a bigger upgrade for them. Maybe you pass on this one, let them have it, so you can hopefully get the next one. Why not instance loot? How do you mean instance loot? Make it so that everybody has the ability to loot the boss for something. So like everyone has a chance at a piece of gear or crafting materials, depending on what the boss is dropping, what their loot table looks like. I understand where that comes from, but I don't know if I am a huge fan of that. The reason being is if everybody gets a drop off every boss, it's only gonna take couple of runs of that dungeon or raid at most to gear out a full group. And then there's no real incentive for them to go back in there. And if that is happening in a month or less, you're allowing people to burn through the content too quickly. There needs to be a line somewhere, and if you go through the content too quickly, your player base now becomes content starved. Now, granted, in Ashes, that's a little bit more unique because of the node system, the ability to go and siege another node, level up something else, open up a new area and start learning that instance or an encounter. Sorry, not instance. There's not going to be many of those. On the flip side of that, I do agree that I think everyone should be rewarded for the time and effort put in. And that's where it kind of comes back to, maybe after killing a boss, there's a decent amount of currency or rare to common crafting materials that drop for everybody, or a currency like we were talking about that can go to a special quartermaster that accepts that currency. Something along those lines is a means of rewarding the everybody. But exactly, Dread, I feel you hit the nail on the head here. I say that right as he throws out 5 gifted subs. Dread, thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate that. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much for the gifted subs. If you guys received a gifted sub from Dread Katak, be sure to thank him in chat. Refresh your browser, rep up those emotes. Super's wife, Player Viro, Lore, Super TCG, and DN Frozen. Make sure you guys all thank Dread Katak. And welcome to the Tilted Paradise, you guys. Appreciate you, Dread. Appreciate you. Ooh, I think that unlocks a new badge slot too. Mike, damn. All right. But yeah, I agree. It does kind of spoil the excitement of rare drops if no one else sees it, as well as when a drop is rare, when it only drops like once in a while off a boss, or when only a select few people have it, there's a certain level of prestige and exclusivity that comes along with that. Whether it's sheer random luck that you get it, or you go on this epic quest, put in all this time and scale the tallest mountains and fight the hardest bosses in order to get this legendary item to go and show off, whatever that is, that there's a sense of prestige to be able to carry that and wear that and use it within the game. And no, you did not say that it would be gear. But I do very much agree that everybody should get a little bit of something. Now, whether that should be on every boss or maybe at checkpoints within the dungeon or the raid, you know, maybe like at the halfway mark and after you clear the final boss, if you're there for that, then everybody gets a bit of a bonus or a reward for being a part of that achievement. I've seen it where if one can't use the item, they can't roll on it. I like that idea. However, I don't think we're going to really have too many of those issues within Ashes, since everybody's going to kind of be able to use everything. Whether it's armor, like you're not locked or pigeonholed to a certain armor class or weapon class for whatever character you're playing. And to me, that's one of the coolest things about Ashes, is you're pretty much available to go do what you want. The one exception that I think we all know of right now is the Bard will have an instrument type of item available to them that will go in a unique character slot that's not available everywhere else. So I do like the idea of, not every piece of loot is hunter loot. Just because you can equip it doesn't mean it's hunter loot. You know? I swear, that's a meme that'll never die. Give subs went to friends. Well, but yeah, I think Dread. I think he handpicked. I feel like he handpicked. If not, damn, go buy yourself a lottery ticket, son, because that was you hit all fellow Ashes of Creation supporters here. Yeah, I just hate the people that roll need on everything. Yeah, exactly. It's not all hunter loot, guys. Give it a rest. So, more than one at a time. That was lotto tier luck. Oh, man. Yeah, I do. I always ramble. It's what I do. Tangents are like my specialty. You want me to go... You want somebody that can take a topic and go off of it and leave it behind? I'm your guy. All right? I can do that very well. Focus. Focus! Yes, my focus needs more focus. That's right. Thank you, Mr. Miyagi. Was that the Karate Kid? Was that Mr. Miyagi that said that? Nice. See? Dread benefit. Speaking of which, have you guys got your pictures done yet? Are you allowed to eat that? Or is that thing still sitting in your fridge taunting you every time you go in for a snack or a drink? It was the new one with Jackie Chan? Okay. Yes. We still need that burger cake. Ooh, nice. I want to see pictures of the inside. When you cut it and take a piece out, or if you cut it in half and split it, however you do it, I want to see that thing sliced and diced. All right? That is my request. I would love to sit down and have a piece with you guys, but so main spec off spec, need versus greed. I feel like in I'm gonna go back to this for a sec. Soft reserve as a loot distribution system, I feel it's very good. And enticing, that was the word I was looking for, to pugs. I think it's very fair as well in terms of everybody gets one or two or three or however many you decide to do. And people can use it on whatever they want to. Now, apparently, and this might just be a glitch with the WoW soft reserve system, apparently, when you're running two soft reserves, you can actually choose the same item twice to get yourself 2 rolls. I actually meant to bring this up the other night when we were talking loot systems in officer chat, but I feel like that's something that we should just simply put a hard no on. That's good, we'll do. It will likely be less burger at that point unless you use an actual... Oh, I expect, right? Like, I wanted to see the profile of the icing and all, like, through all the ingredients and everything, like, just contrasted with the cake inside. Kind of what I was hoping to see, but I mean, if it's like actual layers of color of the appropriately colored icing all the way through, man, that's an advertisement pick for her right there for sure. You send that one to her for a portfolio or whatever advertisement she has, because that actual magician indeed, you know, like that's a burger's made of pure magic and deliciousness. All right, so main spec, off spec, equal opportunity, feels fair on paper. It is very heavily RNG flavored, of course. Some restrictions required, I feel, but imposing and enforcing those restrictions is what I would say would make it a con. The other side to loot distribution isn't about how you receive loot, but how your loot officers, assuming you run with loot officers, manage it and track everything involved with it. The more niches and bonuses and all these little things that you add to the system, the more work that is for someone to track and accurately analyze every time you're going over loot. As well as whatever, you know, if you're tracking like EPGP or something, unless you have an add-on or an in-game system to do that, that is all manual input done offline, at least in Ashes. instance. So I feel like some restrictions are required here for main spec, off spec. If I had to say example, like max number of wins per lockout or per week, let's say. Because I don't know. Because things aren't instanced in Ashes, it makes it really interesting. What is a respawn timer going to look like on raid bosses? Is it going to be efficient for an entire raid to sit in one room and kill a boss, wait for it to respawn, kill it again? Or is the respawn going to be like 4 or 5 hours? That's going to be an interesting interesting thing to see. And I do hope that those respawn timers are on a bit of a scale that can adjust dynamically to either server population or maybe even node population. I think server population is more appropriate, as you don't have to necessarily be a part of that node to go in there and kill that raid boss. You could be part of another node, and you might not register as population there for that algorithm. But folks will make third-party utilities and spreadsheets to help with this stuff. Oh, absolutely. This is better than providing too much hand-holding in game. Like you would rather see offline, people use offline resources, use user-created resources rather than having those resources available in the game. If we haven't got into this points bidding thing yet, and I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about these systems. I've never used any of these systems or been a part of a guild that uses these systems. But my understanding, GDKP is kind of separate. It's its own thing because it's just bidding with currency, or gold rather. But DKP, EPGP, these are points that you earn at a whatever rate for whatever tasks within your guild that you can then spend on bidding for loot when it drops. So if you had to manually track how many points every single person in your guild is earning at any given time for whatever activities they have, I feel like this goes out the window, because who the hell has time for that? And if you do have that kind of free time, why are you spending it doing that? You know? So I feel like there would need to be some type of system in the game in order to track that. Whether it's just a simple contribution scale that everything has whatever the Intrepid decides, you did something for the guild or for the guild hall or a guild war or whatever, you earn some points for that, and it's all tracked internally and done internally. You don't have a say in how much it is and what it's for and all that. If you want to run off a system like that, easy peasy. It's super easy to implement, and it's up to the guild then to just figure out how they're going to work with that, you know? Depends on what information is available in the utility. Yeah. It does. I mean, to think that a UI system would have a be so involved that you can go in and set each individual point value and the criteria for earning those points that would be applied to all guild members, and then the system automatically tracks all that for you as people earn those points, and then they can go into their interface with how many points they have and use those points to bid on an item that drops, and if they win, then it gets deducted. That would be a little excessive. You know, like as a guild leader, or as a loot master, if we start a raid and it's like, okay, I'm just gonna go and look at everyone's contribution score. That is your score as of right now going into this raid. That's what we're gonna operate with. You want to see your values? Well, here's the spreadsheet or whatever. Put it in Discord and go from there, and it's up to you to track the rest of that offline. So I don't know. Like I said, I've never used one of these myself, so I don't know too much about them and what they necessarily entail from a tracking standpoint. It sounds, to me, it sounds like way more effort than it's worth, to be honest. And that, to me, that's my ultimate summarization of any of these systems. Maybe minus GDKP, but I think that has its own issues. I think it's more effort than it's worth, to be honest. Some sort of in-game codex that you can expand automatically based on your findings. Like, you have entries for various mobs, and everything you've ever acquired from one will be filled in as you discover it. In this case, I don't want to see any question mark fields in there either, though. Yeah, I definitely would not want to see question marks. I don't want anything that leads you on. You know, it might, maybe if you were on some quest line and you got hints at something, then that would fill up as question marks, because that's the next step that you have to go and fill on a quest line. But in terms of like bestiary type compendium, I don't want to see anything as question marks. I absolutely would not. I would love to have that tracked, whether or not you want to go as far as like monster weaknesses or anything like that, but like habitat information would be really cool. Maybe a little bio about what that creature is or something like that. That's a lot of work for all the creatures that are going to be in the game, but that would be really neat to see. Absolutely. I think that would really kind of flesh out the environment. And, you know, maybe if you went and saw a scribe in a library or something, they could take the information that you have and put it into like an ultimate book for that node or that area. And you could go to the library, find the node bestiary, if you will, and look through all of that. Like, that would be really cool. That would be really, really cool. But like habitat and stuff like that, just to have that information is like, hey, I need to go kill these things. These are the known common drops. Or even rare drops or something like that, but only things that people have discovered. The one available to you on your character would only show what you have personally encountered and seen. Whereas if you went to the library, you could see what everyone has kind of compiled in there. There are different books for different classes of animals or whatever, so it's not too excessive, but I think it would be pretty, a lot of information to take in, that's for sure. Creates a market for scribes to record their experiences and market them. Yep. A Pokedex, yes, exactly. Exactly, a Pokedex. I mean, animal taming is going to basically be like catching Pokemon, right? For all you Pokemasters out there, I mean, just because my name's Ash, don't think I'm going to be a Pokemon master. That's not my plan for the game, but hey, I might breed them. I might be a breeder. I don't know. We'll see. Animal husbandry does sound like a really fun profession. I'm not going to lie. At the same time, if I'm spending most of my time out on the high seas, maybe managing a farm isn't going to be the best pairing for that playstyle, you know? So we'll have to wait and see. And the final main thing that I really wanted to look at, and this is a system that, again, I haven't used personally. It is the plan for my WoW guild as we push into TBC to utilize a loot council system, and we're actually talking about hybrid variants of that right now, which I think as a baseline, a lot of these probably aren't too bad. Well, mostly when it comes to Ashes, you're probably going to be looking at a main spec, off spec type system, or you're going to be looking at a loot council system. I feel like from what we know right now, and based on the information that's going to be available to us in the game in terms of loot tables, these are probably the two systems you're going to see, at least at the start in the early iterations. Don't think for a second that what you see drop from bosses or monsters in the alphas is going to be the same as what's going to drop from those same creatures in the live game. Very unlikely that they will be the same. Maybe your very basic trashy materials, or there's just like vendor items, if you will be similar. You know, like a bird might drop a feather, sure. But don't expect that much else on that loot table is going to be exactly the same, because they don't want to spoil that info yet, right? And that makes sense. So a loot council system. I'm personally, I very much like the idea of this, because it allows several people within the raid group, or like who compose of the loot council or make up the loot council, to take into consideration who a piece of gear is going to benefit the most and who deserves it the most. And they can either have those two, if you narrow it down to 2 players or 3 players, have those players roll for the item, or if you can narrow it down to 1 player, you give it to that person. Now, depending on the relationship within that group, within that guild, you may or may not feel the need or benefit of providing context and explaining yourself for your decision, if you will. But again, it comes down to a vote. It's not just one person dictating where everything goes and how everything's done. Okay, this isn't a dictatorship. It's a democracy. People vote for the overall progression of the group and rewarding the players and the people that are putting in more time and effort. Plain and simple, right? Like, and how your guild factors in all of that stuff will be unique. I'm really curious. We've got a bunch of people from Virtue here right now. Have you guys talked about a loot distribution system at all? Or do you guys have plans for one? I don't know if you care to share any more details than that to be in terms of a decision, but I'm curious if that's something that's even come up in the radar yet. Not that it's going to influence my decision. You guys know I already love you, but I think one of the big pros to aside from that is it's definitely better for a more well-rounded, dedicated group, right? So if you've got the same 40 people, or you're rotating between like 43, 45 people for all your 40-man content. Now, we know that you'll be able to bring more than that with you, but you might not be in the same raid group, therefore not earning the looting rights, if you will. And outside of that target trade window, perhaps, we'll have to wait and see. But in theory, you could bring 100 people to one encounter. Anyways, if you've got a same tight-knit group, I think the loot council system is going to be a much larger benefit, because you're more likely to have everyone on the same page and pushing towards the same goal. So when a piece of loot drops that, I really want, but if we give it to our main tank instead, means that we're going to do this content easier next time and have a better chance of succeeding in the next boss or in the next tier of content, then that's probably where it should go. If it's going to provide more benefit for the raid to go there, then why give it to me? That's a much easier thing to digest and swallow than it is in, let's say, a group where you have a large fluctuation of players. If you're not bringing the same 40 or 45 people in with you on a regular basis, if you're bringing in like 80 people, for example, and you're mix and mashing people constantly, then a loot council might be a lot more difficult to sell to everyone. You're already putting a big barrier, if you will, into progression by having that many people sharing loot. So we'll see. We'll have to see, but that's kind of would like to see your own loot table per player. You mean like every player gets to loot the boss and something off their table drops? So in theory, 40 people could get a piece of gear if that was what the role was, or a high-end crafting material. We have a role for it, Quartermaster. You'd make a good one, as there isn't a lot of info about loot systems in Ashes yet. I think we're waiting for more solid information plus voting. Absolutely, and I love that. I love that it goes to a vote. That's I don't know. I mean, it's a guild council, if you will. Made him loot master in our WoW Classic raids. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I like the name Quartermaster better than Loot Master. It's much more fitting to the fantasy play. It can work if the raid will be around for a while. Exactly, Twidget. Exactly. If it's a very volatile group of players in terms of who's showing up, the numbers, then I don't think loot council is the best way to go, because you're exposing yourself to more drama, and it becomes much harder to prioritize effectively for progression. But it also comes down to what is your guild's goal and what content's in front of you. Maybe you are fighting a raid and it's the only raid unlocked in the area. So you're just there to do that. And if you can clear it with what you have, then help out people that are going to be doing other stuff, and it's going to benefit them, I guess. I don't know. We'll figure that out at the time. I see him streaming that a lot. He only ninjas around 30%. He doesn't share either. Especially recipes. Yeah. Fuck, man. Dude, don't even remind me of that. Like, well, I'm not going to forget it. I'm not going to forget it. But it's like that time at work when I was spooling 3,000 feet of tether onto a winch. And I misread something on our drawings. I read meters instead of feet or something like that. I think I ended up cutting it at around 1,500 feet instead of 3,000. And it had to be like one continuous piece. Luckily, we were able to still sell both individual halves. But yeah. Certain things you do in life, you're just not going to forget, you know? I now know better. We're going to roll those recipes right away. Even if they only roll the guildies first, that's fine. So these are some of the base systems that I've come across, that I've seen or heard of. I may not know a lot about some of them. Now, we had some ideas the other night that we were throwing around, and that's really what gave me the idea to have this discussion here tonight. Mainly to see where people are at in terms of what they like. What do you guys like for a loot distribution system? What do you think is most fitting for you, most fitting for your guild and your focus in the game, as well as what's easy to manage? Now, a loot council, that's really easy to manage, okay? That's a really easy to manage. You don't have to track anything offline to have an effective loot council, because between everyone there, you're going to be able to hash out and see, like, from the different times you guys are on and who you play with, who's putting in effort where and who needs what. You can look at what people are wearing and using and determine right there on the spot. The downside is, I feel like this one could be very time consuming. I don't know if everybody wants to spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes after every boss kill handing out loot. You know, if it takes 5 minutes per item and 3 items drop, that could be 15 minutes that you're just now sitting around after every single boss kill while loot's kind of getting pushed around. There could be a bit of a benefit if you already start to know what some of the drops are, if this isn't the first time you've killed this boss, of kind of having an idea in your head of who's going to get something first, and maybe it's even talked about or assigned ahead of time. Okay, hey, you're next in line for this because of XYZ reason. So something that we started to throw around was perks in the guild, which rewarding people that are putting in the effort, that show up consistently, that are there trying to improve their character when they're not in the raid, getting their consumables in order, not dying and constantly to like don't stand in the fire, or wiping the raid by pulling packs of crap when they shouldn't be pulling them. Things like that. Rewarding players who deserve it, right? Not so much in a DKP, EPGP type system, but in a sense, you would be rewarding players some type of value or currency, and then you utilizing that to evaluate who deserves a reward. So there was ideas thrown around about, because we use the soft reserve system right now. about giving like 3 players a week an extra soft reserve. And these can be earned by doing XYZ. They are only good for that week, for that raid lockout. And then it resets and goes to someone else. You can't be, the same person can't earn it week after week after week after week. Otherwise that does get a little unfair. So soft reserve is one of the ideas we threw out. Raising the floor of your rolls. Right now, rolls are out of 100, 0 to 100. Well, what if we raise the floor for somebody and they rolled 50 out of 100 instead for one roll that week for one item? Whether win or lose, you get to choose when you use it, but it gets used that lockout. If you choose to use it right away, because you're like, hey, maybe what I want, maybe there's not going to be anything else that drops that I need or want. So I'm going to use it now on this item, even if it's not the best upgrade, because it is a upgrade. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. That is their ability to do so. If they don't use it during that lockout or that week, it's gone. Too bad. We're not just gonna, because I'm not gonna sit there. I'm gonna call myself quartermaster from now on. So deal with it now. I'm not gonna sit there as quartermaster and track all that week after week after week after week and just have a long ongoing thing. Maybe we could put it in the spreadsheet, but it still becomes a lot to manage if that list really starts to grow. And if somebody accidentally forgets to add or remove something, whoa, I don't want to be a part of that drama. I don't want to have to solve that drama. All right, I'm just going to throw this out here as a bonus rewards type thing right now. I feel like having a system like this with pugs in the group probably has a pretty bad flavor to it, if I'm being honest. So you could do it as top performers. It doesn't necessarily have to be top performers, whatever works out, right? So the reason I don't think it meshes well with pugs is obviously they are not going to be able to earn these rewards, but they will be subject to the enforcement of them. So if you're a pug that's coming in and you only need one item, but you're coming in to do the whole raid to get to the last boss so that you have a chance at getting the one item that you need, and it turns out someone else in the raid or in the guild that you're running with has the ability to roll 50 out of 100 instead of your 0 out of 100, then and they win because of that. Like maybe they roll a 53 while you roll a 49. You're not going to be very happy about that. And granted, this should be explained ahead of time before you get yourself in there. You're still not going to be very happy with that because it's not something that's available to you. So I think you need a full guild run in order for bonus rewards to really be well received and reflected. I think within the guild, I can't imagine why they wouldn't be well received. Unless you're the person that never gets them. But if that's the case, then either there's a problem with how the system is structured and it's rewarding players, or you just need to step up. Plain and simple. Most loot will be tradable, I believe, so you could always figure out who gets the loot later and keep the raid going. This is true too. This is absolutely true too. Hi, Troll. How are you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. But yes, it pretty much everything is going to be tradable, so you don't necessarily have to stop for 15 minutes after every boss. I see what you're saying. And that's really important. Another concept of bonus rewards was getting to add a plus amount to a roll. Like say you add plus 10 or plus 15 or plus 20, whatever it is, whatever the number is, semantics at this point, right? So if you roll slash 100 and you roll a 50, that and you have say plus 20 to a roll, you could apply that and you now have plus 70. If I was going to be implementing and running a system like this, I would make it so that you have to declare ahead of time that you're going to use your bonus. And really, whether it's a bonus or you raise the floor. I mean, I guess it's a little different because the bonus has the potential to go above 100 unless you put a hard cap at 100. Also, FYI, if I'm quartermaster, moving forward, 69 is going to become an automatic 101 out of a slash 100. Just saying. Pretty good. I'll have to rewatch the VOD. I missed most of this. That's all right. You made him carry you in league. No carries. So we have the plus X to your roll. We have plus X to the floor of your roll. We have extra soft reserve type thing like that. Maybe I should have started with this blurb, but I found this earlier, and I thought it really kind of sets a good tone of a good loot system, whether it's something we've listed here, a variation of it, or something completely different and unique. At the core, a loot system is merely a concept for distributing loot in such a way that is equitable, meaning equality, balanced, fair, rewarding, and timely. So yeah, not stopping for 15 minutes after every boss, so to speak. Now, I know based on our system in WoW, and because of the interface of Master Looter within there, I can stay at the boss and roll out all the loot and distribute it while the rest of the raid continues on, clearing trash and clearing the way to the next boss. So by the time I'm done loot, I either go and join them and help them kill trash, or I get there to start the next boss. So it's not a big deal. As a DPS, probably the best class role to fulfill that, because not having me around in a 40-man raid isn't going to make or break the group's ability to clear trash. If it does, well, then they wait. It's plain and simple. An equitable loot system is one that has some function of equality within it, essentially trying to avoid the drama of a select group of friends always getting the best loot first while the rest suffer without. Everyone should have the same opportunity for getting gear as everyone else. I feel like that is an excellent philosophy to have to operate your loot distribution system around. Again, it's about everyone. It's not about any one particular person. Just because you need an item that's going to really, really help you in your PvP push doesn't mean that you deserve it more than someone else. It comes down to the raid and the focus of the raid. If everyone else in the group is just like, hey, yeah, take that for your PvP push. We're all rooting for you. We're all cheering for you. Hell, I've got money bet on you. Betting in esports. It's coming. It's coming. It's almost here. Then that's fine. Then that's fine. You can maybe put in a motion for that vote. But in the end, it's really about helping everyone out. What would I prefer to have for Ashes? I'm honestly leaning towards Loot Council. I personally haven't used it, and I would like to. I would like loot to be distributed with a focus of pushing the group and the guild forward in progression, but feeling that it's fair to everyone and everyone has a bit of a say. Like if we had a loot council of like 4 people, let's say, and they would all vote round table who's gonna get it a piece, then we come out and we say, okay, we have decided this piece is gonna go to this person because giving it to them is gonna help out the raid the most, or they've put in a ton of effort and haven't been rewarded recently, they deserve it, whatever. And then you basically have the, if anyone has any objections, speak now or forever hold your peace kind of thing. If somebody has a serious issue with that decision, give them the floor, give them a chance to voice their concern. Hey, listen to that concern and address it. Maybe they have a valid concern that between the 4 of you as Loot Council didn't consider. And maybe it's just a little bit of, hey, I'm butthurt because I've been here for 3 weeks and I haven't gotten a damn thing. And this is the first piece that's dropped that I really want, or this has dropped like 4 times now and I still haven't got it. If it comes down to a personal thing, you can address that. If they've got a more valid reason, then you can address that too. And maybe you go back and change your decision or reevaluate things or be like, hey, okay, you know what? You're next in line because you make a good point. Or that person's next in line because you bring up a good point that they would actually benefit really well from it. So I like the idea of a loot council system for that reason. That being said, because everything's going to be tradable in ashes for the most part, we'll have to wait and see how that really works out. We also need to wait and see what systems are going to be available to us within the game in the UI to help us manage loot. I've never been in a DKP method, but it sounds like it could be good. I've never done it either. I've never been in any of these. Like, I almost ran a GDKP in WoW Classic the other night just because I need gold, but I didn't because I didn't want to get locked out to it. But this is a way of rewarding players very much for their time and effort put into their character and helping the guild in the raid. From what looking at it from the outside in, being that I've never used it like you, if I'm the quartermaster, I don't know that I want to manage all that, to be honest. I don't want quartermaster to be like a full-time job. I want it to just be a role that I fill in the group, right? Like, I don't want to sit there and be like, hey, so this player did this, and that this week. So we tally up the point values for all those things, add them up, and put that on their total. This is what they have going into raid this week. Let's do it for the next person. 40 people later, that's a lot of management. And what if you missed something that somebody did? What if you say somebody did something that they didn't do and confuse it, and then other people catch that and are aware of it? Now you got to deal with that drama and try to flesh that out, and it just becomes, if there's no system built into the game, since add-ons you won't have add-ons to do that for you. I feel like this is far more effort than it's worth, to be honest. That is really what it boils down to. Do I think it rewards the people that put in the most effort the most? Absolutely. And it gives them some agency over how much are you willing to spend out of your effort points. EPGP, right? How much are you willing to spend out of that in order to acquire this piece of gear? And that becomes even more of a gamble when we're talking about the fact that we don't know what loot tables are going to look like for these bosses. We won't know the full span of a loot table for any given boss until there has been literally thousands of kills of that boss. Because there could be something that is like a 1% drop rate or less than a 1% drop rate on a boss. That could be thousands. And keep in mind, like, the way odds work, the way RNG works, that doesn't mean that within 100 kills you're going to see that because it's a 1% drop. That's a 1%. That's a 1 in 100 every single time that's killed. You could literally not see it for thousands of kills. That's the same thing with the soft reserve, hard reserve methods. Plain and simply put, without knowing loot tables, you can't have an effective system. I personally have had favorable experiences with DKP. I feel like when it's implemented fairly and accurately, it's probably a really good system. In all honesty, I've never used it, so I can't speak to it, but I feel like that's the case. Because I mean, you could still have an effective points or bidding system if you don't know what the loot tables are. It's just more of a gamble, right? It's like, you might waste points on or use points on something that the very next boss drops an even better item for that same item slot that you would rather have, but you just spent all your points previously. And like, well, if it was an upgrade, the first item, throw that away. If the first item was still an upgrade, it's not the end of the world. You'll get more points. You'll kill the bosses again. Maybe you'll get it next time. And you'll have less people to bid against, so it won't cost you as much. In the meantime, you still got an upgrade. Be happy with that. But there's the salty aspect of it, and that, man, if I would have just waited, Know when to hold them and know when to fold them, right? Sell all the loot on eBay. Do you guys think that's going to be a thing? If loot's freely tradable within the game, obviously it's against terms of service. Obviously it's against terms of service. You will never, Intrepid would never condone it, and if they ever found out you were doing it, would probably ban your account immediately. But I guarantee it'll be a thing. Maybe not on eBay, you know? Maybe people will be selling it for crypto. Apparently there's NFT things going on right now, which I don't know much about, but my buddy at work is really learning a lot about crypto lately. And there's people that go in there and just like create little pieces of art and then sell it for like tons of crypto because people are crypto rich and just buy it up. Little digital art. It's nutty. So yeah, moderator access revoked. Yeah, I think it'll be a thing. No, it's not going to be the real money auction house that was in Diablo 3. God, what a shit show that was. I think I sold an item for like $4 on there. I never got any of the super rare items back then. But there's no way to actually hard track that. What's to stop you from just going up and trading an item to somebody for whatever reason? If you're going around and trading rather rare items and materials to other people and not getting anything in return on a somewhat regular basis, you might raise a red flag. But how are they ever going to be able to find you and some other account advertising those items on some random platform? Now, it's probably safe to say that most big streamers and content creators won't be partaking in such activity because they're going to naturally be under the spotlight a bit more and don't want to draw that kind of attention to themselves. Then again, there's the how many people have been caught cheating in Warzone now while they're streaming and been banned out of everything? It's kind of hilarious. Yeah, absolutely. It'll be discreet. It's going to happen. That is a very interesting conversation to have. There's going to be guilds out there that are going to be dedicated to that kind of stuff. And items won't go cheap. They'll go for thousands of dollars. Right? You could have a group of 40 people out there, or maybe less if they're strong and competent enough, that'll go out, kill legendary world bosses, and be like, hey, we told this person that we were going to do that at this time. They're here in the group. They get all the looting rates, and they just paid the guild this much money. Now they get this legendary item or legendary crafting material, whatever it is. No, I hadn't either. I had not thought about that until now. Crafted gear will be on par, absolutely, but a lot of those materials, legendary materials and actually I think only legendary items, like finished goods, will drop from legendary world bosses. Legendary crafting materials, I don't know if they're going to be exclusive to legendary world bosses or if they will be available also to like top tier raid bosses. But yes, crafting gear is supposed to be on par with the top end gear drops as well. That legendary piece of gear is going to be on a tier of its own, but whether it's legendary dropped gear or legendary crafted gear, they're going to be on that same tier. Like buying gold for someone would be easy to track, but just items won't be possible to track like that. It's going to be really, really hard. Really, really hard. Like, unless you have moderators in the game, or not necessarily in the game, but monitoring trade logs, that would be the only thing, is to look for red flags. Like, hey, this legendary item just got traded to this person for free. Let's go look at that. Oh, hey, these two people aren't in the same guild. And I mean, I don't know what else they can see beyond that that would tie players together or incentivize that maybe these players have no in-game relationship. Look to see what chat messages they've had in-game, what their history interactions have been like, that type of thing. So, you know, you can have all this, but even then, at best, you have speculation still. Like, unless you can prove it, like find the listing where the item was listed for sale. And even still, I don't know. I mean, if my account got banned and I just made like $5,000 off an item that I sold, probably not too salty about it, to be honest. It's an inconvenience, but I mean, I can always just create another one. Unless they ban my MAC address on my computer, in which case then I need to spend that $5,000 to buy a new computer so I can come back and do it again. But if not everything, Steven has mentioned extensive logging. You'll be able to track all the stuff that happens in game, but the stuff that happens outside of the game, though, which is where this conversation and the listing and everything is going to happen. So they're going to actively need people on any and every known platform and forums and whatever have you, as quickly as possible, monitoring these things for any Ashes of Creation posts. And even still, you won't catch all of them. If money has changed hands, there's nothing you can do about that. You can delete the item that was traded from the game, so the person that bought it now just doesn't have it anymore, and maybe they now don't have whatever money they spent on it, you know? Like, that knowing that is something that could happen will deter a lot of people. But people that have a little bit of extra money and they're not too worried about losing it, not the end of the world to them. Oh, I got banned from the game? Oh, I'll start a new account. Try again. It's a lot of resources to track for potentially millions of players. They need very good tracking algorithms. Yep. And those algorithms, like, the potential exists for that to happen. Especially over time as things get refined. You know, just have bots or whatever, just searching Google for specific items. You can whitelist certain websites as you vet them and verify that they're not trying to sell items, but they're just informational websites posting maybe loot tables or talking about items, best in slot, and whatever else, right? But the second that something is not whitelisted, that gets flagged and somebody has to go and whitelist that. That could be a full-time job for a good team of people, you know? And as soon as one of these websites gets taken down, 10 more have popped up in its place. You have to really, really try to prove in game, I feel, and take the most severe action of deleting that item from the game world and banning that account right there on the spot. Permanently banning that account, maybe even ban the MAC address that account was logged in from. Because banning an IP is a waste of time. But yeah, I feel like that is something that's going to happen in the game. And while it could be considered a means of pay to win for some people, the item was generated in game through proper activity in the proper quantity. It's just been traded to someone else for an outside currency rather than something in the game. So I don't think it's pay to win from a competitive standpoint. You know, if this is a player that is, you know, on the top of the leaderboards or is like near the top of the leaderboards and like, man, if I just get this item, I'll be able to close that gap and maybe be number 1 this season or something like that in, like, say, arenas, then they're already going to be in a bit more of a spotlight. So they're more likely to have their logs scrutinized than just the average Joe Schmo who's out running around just doing whatever. So it could be pay to win in that top level of competition. But to be fair, at that level of competition, most players know who their opponents are and are going to know a little bit of something about them. Unless they're on different servers, of course. If there's nobody in the top that's on the same server as you, I mean, that's not to say they don't have alts on your server too, but they could have, like, you know, been keeping an ear to the ground, if you will, about what you're doing, what you're running. And if you're not in a group that's killing that boss, and it's like, how did you get this item? That could be a red flag. Okay, what did you trade to get this item? Nothing? Maybe there's something to be said there. Having said that, what's to stop from random simp who's in a guild, who does kill a legendary world boss, gets a legendary weapon, and going and trading it to Asmongold because he's an Asmon simp? Or she is. It's not always dudes. Right? But that could actually be a legitimate thing too. Or maybe it's a spouse. Not adding more items to the game, but if there's a top PvP player with bought items, that's a problem. Absolutely, that's a huge problem. That is a huge problem, and that is something that will, like I say, the best defense Intrepid has against this is swift and severe action against anybody who buys and sells items. Obviously, the seller is still going to walk away with the money in hand, and the buyer's not going to have a fucking hope in hell at ever getting it back, because the seller's not going to be like, oh, hey, sorry, I feel bad for you, so here's your money back, but yeah, it kind of sucks we both got banned, you know? That's not going to happen. If you're doing this in the first place, let's just be fair. You're not the most honest up and up kind of person, right? I feel like we've talked about this discussion, or discussed these topics pretty well at this point. Obviously, I haven't written down everything because this is more about the conversation rather than note taking. I'm not gonna do too much more with these notes afterwards, I don't think. At least I'm not planning to right now. It was more so just tracking kind of the discussion topics as we go through and noting down ideas along the way. I will probably be working both for my current guild and whatever future prospects might happen as a quartermaster. Work on fleshing out kind of what I feel is a well-rounded loot system that, yes, encompanies all of this and is also not like, it doesn't feel like a full-time job to have to track and manage and deal with. So I'm a huge fan of these bonus reward type ideas. As long as it's simple. It's simple for people to understand and follow. It's simple for them to get or earn the rewards, and simple to explain. Like that's the most important thing. Giving any type of bonus like this, I feel like if you earn that reward, you're gonna feel happy. Even if you invoke your reward and you don't win the item, it still feels good because you put in a good you had a better chance. RNG is still going to be RNG there, and that's kind of what I like about this. Plus X or an extra SR is it's the RNG still has the ability to give the item to other people. You're not just exclusively hard reserving an item or taking an item out of the pool if it drops and nullifying everyone else. You just have a slightly better chance at getting it should it drop. You're increasing your odds, loading the dice, if you will. If they run gear like they did in FF11, it should not be an issue at all, where the best gear is crafted and found in raid, but it's not hard to get, and it was more about the story and game than gear. So I don't know that is the current plan. I'm not disagreeing with that being a good system. I personally never played Final Fantasy 11. Because this is such a PvP focused game where PvP is prevalent in the open world during your raids and dungeons, in large scale siege combat, in caravans, in the transportation of goods, in instanced more competitive focus like arenas, gear is important, and it will be, even if it only makes up for 50% of your power. when you're min-maxing, or when you're playing at the highest levels, or when you're about to get ganked even, you want any and every advantage that you can get. And if that means having just a slightly better piece of gear than your opponent, or than the people around you, then you're gonna want it, right? So gear carries an importance to it for sure. Where it comes down to what's it more about, the story, the gear, the gameplay and content, or just the hanging out with your friends and killing some bosses, having some laughs, making some jokes, maybe you're drinking some drinks, I don't know. Everybody kind of falls in, I feel, into one of those categories. Maybe there's a couple categories there I didn't think about. But everybody kind of falls into that a little bit. And it's really going to be about finding the group that jives with you the best there. So if you're more about the story and the game and hanging out than you are about the gear, but the gear is still nice to have as a reward, super competitive, world's first competing progression is probably not going to be your bread and butter. But something where with just a good, healthy community where you can just sit back, have fun, and laugh, but everybody still knows when to be serious, when it's time to focus up and be like, hey, okay, we're gonna get in here, we're gonna pay attention, we're gonna learn these mechanics, we're gonna execute, we're gonna wipe, we're gonna come back, we're gonna try again with the new knowledge we've acquired, learn the new mechanics, and repeat that process till the boss is dead. Cool. If you're just gonna go in there waiting until someone else has cleared it and made a guide for it and follow their strategy and have fun along the way, taking it super casual, just make sure you find the guild that is in line with what you're doing and has the loot distribution system that you want to see. I can see that, Troll. Like, if I lost to somebody who had a bonus to their role somehow, yeah, it's not going to feel great. But in the end, I had the potential to lose anyway, and I still had a chance to win. And they earned that. And that's something that needs to be recognized. How these rewards are distributed to people needs to be fair. It needs to be accessible by anyone and everyone within the raid group or within the guild, to create a bit of a healthy competition, I feel. You know, it's one thing to say, okay, you've put in 100 hours this week into your character, so you get the reward because this person here was only able to put 10 hours in this week. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of that personally, because, you know, real life, people have jobs, people have families, people have other obligations that they need to fulfill. So the sheer input of just black and white of how much time you've played and put into your character, I don't think is a fair metric to track there. Something about what you did with your time, maybe. You only had 4 hours a week to play, but you put that time into farming materials so that you could have the consumables or upgrade your gear to do better. You put in the effort into your character rather than just playing an alt or whatever. But at the same time, you know, we're all here to have fun too. So there has to be appropriate metrics in place to track and reward. And if those metrics are fair and the reward system is fair, if you lose to someone that that implemented the reward, it's not going to feel as bad as though that if it felt like that reward was out of reach for you and they won because of that. That would definitely salt me. I hate the fact that all about the gear, not how good the player is. Well, I kind of like that's where the 50-50 power balance comes from, that they're aiming for with gear. Is it will be pretty apparent unless somebody outgears you like on a whole nother level. If they're not as skilled as you, you're probably going to win, unless there's just simply a class imbalance. Now, class balance we know is not going to be around the 1v1. So if you're out in the world and some ganker's running along and he's like, hey, there's the scissors to my rock. I'm gonna go take that fucker out and take his gatherables. Well, you know, you might be up Schitt's Creek if you're not way out gearing that person, because you're gonna need every advantage you can to if scissors is ever gonna cut rock. You know, you need some diamond edge scissors. You know what I'm saying? It's the first time I've ever used that line. Maybe the last. I don't know. Having extended time to kill for most battles, gear will make a bigger difference. I think they said they're aiming for what, a 30 to 60 second time to kill. 60-second time to kill feels like a really long time to me. I'm also curious, like, is that assuming two of the same class, equal gear, equal skill? Like, there's definitely going to be variance in there. Obviously, if you have two cleric fighting each other, it's probably going to take the time to kill in that fight is probably you like go make yourself a bowl of popcorn, grab a beer, take a dump, come back. They're probably still fighting. You know, it's like watching NASCAR. You haven't missed a fucking thing. But if it's, you know, two high DPS classes fighting each other, it's probably going to be pretty fast. Oh, hey, look, chat. We can be famous. We'll go buy some followers. Oh, man. That sounds exciting. Get the fuck out of my chat. Who's running the drinking me some drinks guild? Asking for a friend. Yo, Jolas, how you doing? I wanted to ban him. I'm sorry. This is because I was talking about selling loot. Right, totally. Gotta have bots for that, right? That's how you make money. It's not by putting your time into it. You gotta have a bot that does it for you. And just a bank of computers. I mean, I don't know. If I'm in any guild that they're like, hey, you guys can't drink when we're doing this, then I mean, I understand to the point of not getting wasted if you're trying to clear content. I mean, in the end, if you're grouped up with 39 other players and you're just getting shit-faced and killing everybody and wiping everyone all the time, then yeah, that's a problem. You're wasting 39 people's fucking time. But to not sit back and just have a couple drinks, loosen up and shoot the shit, have fun, that is not a guild I'm looking to be a part of. All right? That's not a group I'm looking to be a part of. I don't drink much. I drink very little. But I want to have I don't want somebody fucking judging me and telling me I can't come on the raid if I do decide to indulge. Yeah, as long as you can be chill. Exactly. Don't be stupid and don't be a dick. I mean, that shouldn't just be a rule for raiding when you're drinking. That should just be a rule in life. You probably get through life pretty well if you follow those rules. Don't be stupid. Don't be a dick. Easy. Super easy, right? Like, man. If I had to add any other rules to that, okay? Don't ever wear Crocs. Ever. And don't ever look another man in the eye while you eat a banana. That's it. Those are the rules. You broke one of those rules on your wedding day. You wore Crocs. That's understandable. That's understandable. But still, I'd be lying if I said I've never worn Crocs. Okay, they weren't mine. They were a friend's. They left them at my house. And when I just had to like make a quick run out to the car, or I'm barbecuing and I'm in and out of the house constantly, not gonna lie, they're pretty convenient. And I fucking hate flip-flops because damn that thong thing sticking between my toes. If that's not the most just annoying feeling in the world, I don't know what is. Who? Not to mention the flap. That drives me nuts. I used to work with people in an office environment that wore those, and they knew it pissed me off, and they would purposely walk around me. There was probably 4 or 5 people that used to do it, just to watch me like, You're one too, aren't you?
No, I fucking hate flip-flops.
There you go. See? That's why she's my queen. They were the dressy, girly ones? Is that even a thing?
What does that mean?
Dressy, girly Crocs. What is that? What is that? It's like sandals with socks? Who does that? You're a fucking criminal. You're a monster. Get out of my life. I've seen people. I work with somebody that does that. Like, we shouldn't even be allowed to wear sandals where I work. You know, safety reasons. But I think he was there, like, just on his day off or something, and I saw him or something. I can't remember, but I've seen him with it. Just reminded me. We have to wear steel toes. But unless you walk on the yellow painted line that's supposed to be the safe traffic area for the office people that come down into the heavy lifting areas. But, man, what a... Unless they're loot socks. I mean, if they're loot socks... Hold on. Let me find some loot socks here real quick. I'll find you some loot socks. You can wear these all you want. Here you go. Loot socks. Bam. You can wear those. Oh yeah, fancy Crocs. There you go. Look at these. Look at these. That is the fancy Crocs.
They're so lovely.
Oh man. I don't know. I get them. They're convenient. They're comfortable. I understand. I do. I've worn them. I'm not ashamed of it. Okay, maybe a little. Oh. Having said that, I don't think I've ever once worn socks and sandals. But you saw them. You saw them. That's... The bulkiest, ugliest Crocs. I wonder if that's a thing. I'm really curious now. I'm probably not gonna find what I'm looking for with this. Oh. I don't know. Yeah, Crocs at weddings are the norm. That is the one, actually, okay, this is the one time I would say it's acceptable to wear Crocs or flats or something, is on your wedding day. Being in high heels and those uncomfortable shoes, with all that stuff all day and all those pictures in awkward terrain.
I'm gonna wear combat boots.
Alright, that's my girl. But let's look at these for a second. Chicken wing Crocs. Chicken wing, hot dog and bologna. Nice, Dread. Platform Crocs. Look at that. I'm curious, what else do we got on here? So if socks and sandals are so bad, and Crocs are so bad, would the worst thing ever actually be socks and Crocs? I feel like that's meme worthy. Socks and Crocs. Country Fried Crocs? If that is not their name, I am disappointed. Country Fried Crocs. I just like how socks and Crocs rolls off your tongue, you know? Who? Socks and Crocs, socks and Crocs, socks and Crocs, socks and Crocs, socks and Crocs. Boom, I'm not TOS banned yet. I know what she was trying to do. We should get our youngest to say Crocs.
Oh my god.
Look at these are bedazzled Crocs. What is this? Is that a K? Are these Kanye fans? I don't know. Dread, it's the yellow version of yours. Oh, no way. No way. And the bedazzling of them too. Like I can't even right now. Oh, those are edgy. Those are edgy. Look at that. I'm gonna wear those on when I get my space flight to Mars. Elon will totally rock those for me. What is this?
Oh my god.
Clearly these are decorative only, because obviously, you know, this would be like walking around with your shoelaces tied together. I've always wanted to do that to somebody, sneak under their desk while they're working or busy, sleeping or whatever, and tie their shoelaces together. On a motorcycle? Yeah, like I hope it's an automatic. Can you imagine having to try and shift gears with Crocs on? Then again, most of the bikes I've been on have been not the smoothest action. You know, they could use a little grease and oil. Woo! Satan's Crocs. Imagine getting kicked by them. Like, imagine getting roundhoused by these. Like, what is this? In the pentagram, too. What the hell? All right, we got to talk to Steven. He needs to come up with some an Ashes of Creations Crocs. Oh, gloves. What? That doesn't count. The Croc offshoots. What is that? That's just like a silicone glove. That's wedding. I feel like those would get caught on your dress constantly. It would drive you insane. If your dress hung low and hung down to your feet, I feel like they would constantly catch on them. All right, that's just the original, but in the worst color. Why? Why? You should see the cringe face right now. Well, that was interesting. I don't understand fashion, man. I really don't. Rogue's Crocs of Shadowwalk only enhance. Actually, no. They need to do Crocs as a cosmetic for your character. Shadow Croc Proc. They need to do Crocs as a cosmetic in one of the cosmetic packages. Because I'm totally just gonna sit in my fucking freehold, feet up on my tavern bar, Crocs just displayed for the world to judge. Yeah, we definitely derailed the shit out of this. Did Deadpool do Crocs and socks? I don't know. I'll go search for that over here. Just in case, you never know what you're gonna get when you search Google for something like this, right? This is a fan thing, but yeah, Deadpool and Crocs. I don't know, does he have socks? Or does the bodysuit kind of cover it and count for it? That's right. That's right. I mean, I do have an idea, a topic to discuss for next week's stream for Ashes. And I was actually going to bring it up ahead of time with you guys to give you something to think about. Just gonna leave this here for a sec to give you guys something to think about, because I'm really curious to know what your thoughts are going to be on this. I don't need answers right now on it because I want to have this discussion next time. Class identity. I want to know what class identity means to you. You could take this as far as your own character identity if you really want to, like who your character is as a backstory, or how they live their life, how you play in the game as a role play. If that's your jam, go that far with it. But what does class identity mean to you? When you think of your class archetype, primary, secondary, whatever level you want to take it to, what does that mean to you? What creates class identity? What breaks class identity? I'm gonna come up with my own as well. Well, I already have a decent idea of what mine means to me, or what class identity in general means to me. But that's kind of what I want to talk about next week, guys. So marinate on that one for a bit. I feel like it's something we might see come up on the forums as the ideal class discussion evolves. Yeah, save that conversation for next Wednesday, and we'll do that. That'll be our leading into the non-NDA. You did just get some stream homework. You better believe it. If you don't do it, well, then you won't have anything to bring to the table except ideas and whatnot at the time. So if you don't do it, honestly, I won't know. But I'm just prefacing. My dog ate my class identity. See? That breaks class identity. Darn dog. Burger cakes. Burger cakes are your class identity. But yeah, I'm curious. Is it armor and gear? Is it skills and abilities? Is it racial? Is it play style? Is it something else that outside of that that defines a class or can make or break a class? Like if I had to say, for example, you look at current retail WoW and just when you have the ability to swap roles, swap specs on a whim. You like Cool Whip? I like Cool Whip. When you can go from tanking to damaging to healing from one fight to the next without any cost or consequence, to me that breaks class identity. But that's me. That's not to say it's right or wrong. And that's what makes this a fun discussion, is there's not really a right or wrong. It's really personal preference. Some people really prefer that because they want to play the overarching role, which is the ability to do anything, even if you're not a druid. So I'm really curious what you guys have to say on that one. But